ghee here. Okay. You gotta write instructions on how to build a fire. School time. In the ceremonies, the fire is the most important. Not the sweat lodge. But the fire where we build, where we heat the rocks, is the most important part. It's from here that we gain knowledge, and it's from here that we learn about ourselves through the flames, through the heat. All of you are energies of your father. The energies of your father and your grandfathers before him. And those energies comes from the sun, which you see shining up here. And that's the fire, the giver of energy. If it wasn't for this, the grass will not grow and the tree will not grow. And if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have no energy. You'll still stay a little insect underneath the waters. A microscopic insect. And it's because of that sun you are what you are. A human form. And so long as that sun shines, you will progress. And at the day that the sun quits shining, you will regress. You will become a microscopic thing again. So the flame is the eternal flame, flame without end. It's always burning. It must be clean all the time. Before you build that fire, the ashes that's been used in the previous day has got to be taken out and put it in a sacred place, not just thrown any place. You watch the people, and you teach them how to do something. And the most important part you keep to the last, the ashes from those that heat up the rocks. They play a very important part. The ashes got to be used and gotten rid of at a certain place. Or it can be mixed with your pile of food that you throw away. And it can be put into the ground. And it helps the vegetables grow. So if you take ashes from a burning house, it does not work. But if you take ashes from a sacred prayer place where they've been prayed over, then it works. You'll be surprised how much power there is there. So the fire is important. Among all the tribes of Indian people, the fire should never be you take a piece of paper or trash or cigarettes and just throw anything in there. You don't do that. You keep the fire clean all the time. That fire, even inside the teepee, it's got to be clean. And you got to know what kind of trees to burn. What trees grows the hottest? What tree will stay in the fire the longest? What trees grows more smoke? You have to know about trees. To know about fire, you must know about the trees and what they do. There's a lot of, you see some white trees out there, they're called birch. There's a lot of dead birch out there. You take the skin, and that's paper. That's where your paper comes from, all this. That's where it comes from. So you go to the birch, and you take it, and you start the fire with it. You take dead grass standing alone. Take the dead grass and put it underneath as a nest to start the fire. You don't need all this paper. I see all the papers going in there, and I wanted to say something, but I knew I had to before the day was finished. I had to say something about that. Because it's a very important thing that prayers are used to build a fire. Good feelings. Women on their moon should not be nowhere near it. Why? It creates a conflict. A conflict within man and other women not on their moon. Very spiritual time for the woman. She builds her own fire and uses her own flames. When you build a fire, you must work with the wind. There are different winds. There is the four directions of the wind, which is negative. And there is the four true winds, which is positive. So you must work with the wind. And if you are working with the four directions of the wind to build a fire at the sweat lodge, you're going to have a lot of trouble. Somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to fall inside. Something is going to happen. If it don't happen there, it'll happen inside the sweat lodge. Somebody will get a hot rock in their laps. So you must understand the wind that you work with. Everything is understandable. It's so simple, and yet, I don't see how humans can forget. When you have the sweat lodge here, facing this way, and the fire pit sitting here, this is west, east, south, and north. So you're looking at the sweat lodge here. The sweat lodge is facing towards the west. When you look from inside, you're looking west. And the wind is coming from over here. This is the wind. The invisible thing that you see. This is the true wind, the true directions. They are called positive. Now behind this comes another line. Many people call them Santanas, Chinook winds, Cayuse winds, all kinds of funny names. But these are these winds. This is the negative wind called the four directions of the wind. And they create problems at the sweat lodge over here. The reason why it creates a problem is when you build your fire, the fireman looks at the wind first. Of all things, the wind. You don't go out there and just make a fire. It looks nice like this. Okay, the wind is coming. from this side. So when the wind is coming from this side, you don't change it this way. There's only two directions that this takes. The first two pieces of wood are put down on the ground. Then the second. Then the third. There are 3 layers of wood. And on top of the third layer comes the fourth. Small, dry sticks are put on top. Not great, big green wood, because your mentality works this way. Well, I've got to put these green ones on there so it doesn't break. That's your mentality. Your mental thing said, no, I can't do that. It's going to break apart. It's not going to work. So you have to use your own judgment. It always has to be seasoned wood. Wood that will burn. To put across here. Like this. Okay, the fire pit is here, we're going like this way. Let's say, for instance, the wind is coming from this side. Then the first 2 has to be like this. So the wind goes inside and out the other side. But if the wind is coming from this side, then the first 2 is put here, like this. The second one up here, then up here again, like this. So now you got the wind coming in from this side and here and out that side. So you got to use a mental judgment. Which side is the wind coming from? You don't go over there and turn the radio on. What does this weatherman say for today? And if the wind, there is no wind, then you create it this way. Always facing, the first 2 facing east and west. And then this way. So the wind will always go. And once the wind picks it up, it creates its own funnel. And it goes from the fire pit is here, it goes up like this. And it creates a funnel like this going up. And then the concentration of the wind is the center of the sweat lodge going up. So the wind does its work. It's going here, coming out here, but it doesn't go this way. It goes up. Up in the air. And then it creates a funnel right here, and it builds the funnel. It's a funnel in the side, so the wind starts going like this. Fire creates its own wind. The fire always makes wind. If there's a fire over there coming this way, there will be a wind, a dead wind in front of it. It's always a wind that is always like a fire, forest fire coming like this. Right here is no man's land. There is no wind here. You will die right there. You will suffocate when the wind comes. So the fire works in many tricky ways. So you have to understand it. To be a fireman at the sweat lodge, you have to understand what the fire is all about. You can't go there and just build a fire and pile up the rocks thinking it's going to work. The first rock that goes is right here. Second rock right here. The third rock right here. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Those are the faces. 7 rocks looking at you. And then after that, the rocks can go any place. Then it builds up like a pyramid, like you've had it. And remember, these have to be old wood that will burn and break. So then you start to build all the wood from the side. The rocks are here like this, and then you start putting the wood on the outside, the longest one, as far out as you can. Don't stand them like this, like you got them. All the wood is standing like this. And that fire over there, it fell over. And you say, I don't understand why it fell over. That's because you got it going straight up. You got this all the wood is standing straight up like this. So it takes a child to figure it out. It's going to fall over. So each one wood is put like this. A pyramid creates more heat inside. A square takes away the heat. So you must build a pyramid for the fire. So when you build this pyramid, you just keep building it all the way around. You keep building it. Pretty soon it looks like a teepee. All the way around. Be careful that you have to put all the small dead wood against the rocks. Against the rocks, you must put dry grass. Against the rocks, you put dry twigs. You don't just go over here and build this. These are the rocks sitting here. You take great big pieces of wood and put them there. It's not going to burn. It takes a long, long time. You put all the skinny pieces of wood against the rocks first, and you make a thick layer around them. And all the bushes on the bottom, all the dry twigs. And then you put the big ones on top. So you have an insulation of small wood and heavy wood on top. And let's say this is like this on top, then you lay some on top like this. And you put little sticks up there. And it pulls it up. Fire pulls up the heat. And the heat goes up and creates another fire on top. And in time, all these little sticks will break right through here. They'll break. And all your pyramid is going to fall like this. These sticks that you got sitting up like this, that far apart, now if you have it like this, they're going to fall this way. So your fire is out there. And if you have it pointed in that direction, when this breaks, these will come together like that. And the fire concentration is all in the center. And it stays right there. Because it's going to be too hot to get close to anyway. And sometimes we come along and we build a fire. We don't watch the wind. The wind is important. If you build it without the wind, then the wind comes along. You see a lot of the old people back home, they'll stand there and laugh at you. They wouldn't say nothing. Because we don't have time to stand back and watch anymore. We have to tell you today so that the old people will not laugh at you when you build a fire. This guy's crazy. Look at the way he's building that fire. He went to Boy Scouts, you know. He learned how to do it in school. That's how we learn. Forget school. Use common sense. Common sense is a lot easier to build a fire. Use that wind. Watch the wind. The wind's coming from over there. Once this fire starts, even if it rains, it's going to keep on going. For the fire is stronger than rain. Rain puts out the fire. Little ones. But a big fire, the rain cannot put out. It'll create a steam. It'll burn more. So you can look at different directions. So now you're looking at the angles, the way this is sit at the sweat lodge. From the top view, you're looking at this. The positive and the negative. The wind. Which way is the wind coming? Is it coming from this side, or here, or there? Or is it, if it's coming from all directions, then it's a negative wind. If it's coming steady from one direction, it's positive wind. So you know exactly what to do. You spend 5 or 10 minutes out to the fire pit while you're cleaning the ashes. Watch the wind. If you don't know how to watch the wind, pick up some of the ashes and throw it up in the air. And the wind blows it in that direction. You know where it's coming from. Do it again. See which way. Then it's coming from this side. And pretty soon it's going all directions. Then you know it's a negative wind. The tricky wind. The tricky wind creates a lot of problems all over the world. But we are so far in advance that we don't know anything about the tricky wind. And therefore there is problems all over the world. So there is a great problem with these negative side. It's called 4 directions of the wind in the English language. These are the positive wind. In our language it says kate. That's his name, kate. And this is yumani. Yumani means it creates a problem in the air. You can bring negative force. Most of them is negative force. So you have to understand the building of fires. I watched this one out here. Pretty soon everybody gets in. Pretty soon everybody wants to do something. Because one man says, I know more than this guy. I need more than him. Oh, I can do this better. Just stand back and watch. And you can watch as we're teaching you now how to build a fire. This is not only at the sweat lodge, any place in the world. The fire has to be kept clean. Of course, in a teepee, you have to build a different fire too. But many times, the reasons for building the fire in the directions inside the teepee is a little bit different.
Dans une cérémonie, le feu est la chose la plus importante. Ce n'est pas la sweat lodge qui est importante, qui est la chose la plus importante, c'est le feu. C'est par lui, c'est par le feu que l'on a la connaissance, ou que l'on obtient la connaissance, et que l'on apprend des choses sur soi-même. C'est par les flammes, c'est par la chaleur. Chacun de vous a reçu des énergies de vos pères, et vos pères eux-mêmes de leurs pères, et dans la chaîne des aïeux. L'énergie vient du soleil, et c'est symbolisé par le feu. Sans le soleil, les arbres, les herbes, rien ne vivrait sur cette terre. C'est par le soleil que vous êtes ce que vous êtes, c'est-à-dire des êtres humains. Tant qu'il y a le soleil, vous progresserez, vous pourrez progresser. Lorsqu'il n'y aura plus de soleil, vous vous mettrez à régresser jusqu'à des formes microscopiques. La flamme est la flamme éternelle. Elle doit rester propre tout le temps. Le feu doit être mis en un lieu qui est consacré. Il faut ne jamais jeter les cendres. Les cendres sont des choses très importantes, ou elles doivent être gardées en un lieu particulier, ou elles doivent être mélangées à des choses végétales pour faire de l'engrais et pour donc permettre à la terre de se renouveler. Il s'agit, lorsque je vous parle de ces cendres, il ne s'agit pas des cendres par exemple d'une maison qui brûle, mais bien celle d'un lieu où est effectuée une prière. Dans ces cendres-là, il y a un très grand pouvoir. Chez aucun peuple amérindien, dans aucun peuple amérindien, il n'advient que l'on jette des cigarettes ou des déchets dans le feu. Ne le faites donc pas, gardez le feu propre. Il faut également comprendre les arbres et savoir quel arbre on brûle, savoir quel est l'arbre qui fera le plus de fumée par exemple, ou savoir quel est l'arbre qui brûle le mieux ou qui est susceptible de brûler le plus longtemps. Alors il y a un arbre qui s'appelle birch, je ne sais pas ce que c'est. Il dit on fait du papier avec l'écorce du bouleau, et en prenant donc cette écorce de bouleau, vous pouvez allumer votre feu sans utiliser du papier industriel. Vous pouvez également prendre de l'herbe sèche pour allumer le feu, donc à la place du papier que vous utilisez. Lorsque vous allumez un feu, il faut prier et avoir des good feelings, des bons sentiments, des sentiments bons. Il ne faut pas qu'une femme qui a ses règles approche du feu, ça crée inévitablement des conflits et des problèmes. Les règles pour une femme correspondent à un temps qui est très chargé de spiritualité pour elles, et elles peuvent faire leur propre feu, mais ce n'est pas le feu des autres. Il faut également savoir comprendre les vents. C'est très important de comprendre les vents. Il y a les 4 directions du vent qui sont les vents négatifs, et les 4 vrais vents qui sont les vents positifs. Alors, si j'ai bien suivi, les vrais vents sont ceux qui sont dans les points cardinaux, ce que nous appelons les points cardinaux, c'est-à-dire est-ouest-sud. Et les autres vents qui sont les vents négatifs sont les vents qui sont en diagonale. Il faut travailler avec les vents, et il ne faut pas en feu dans le feu toujours. Et il ne faut pas travailler contre les vents. Si on travaille contre les vents, ça peut blesser les gens, il peut arriver des incidents, comme quelqu'un qui prendra une pierre sur le pied, ou des choses comme cela. On peut donc avoir toutes sortes de problèmes si on ne travaille pas avec les vents. Alors, il ne faut pas oublier que vous avez une sweat lodge qui est orientée d'une certaine manière. Et cette orientation, ça n'est pas un hasard, c'est également, ça tient également compte des vents positifs et des vents négatifs. Alors, les vents positifs sont appelés les vrais vents, donc je l'ai déjà dit, et les vents diagonaux sont appelés les vents négatifs, et ils créent des problèmes lorsque vous construisez le feu. Vous devez user de votre propre jugement pour bien orienter votre tas de bois. Il ne faut pas le faire n'importe comment, enfin votre plateforme de bois au démarrage. Le vent, s'il vient de l'est, il faut orienter d'abord les 2 premières bûches dans l'axe est-ouest. Et s'il vient du sud, il faut orienter les premières bûches dans l'axe sud-nord. Et cela de manière à toujours être avec le vent afin qu'il favorise le feu et le fait que le feu prenne. Il faut savoir aussi que le feu crée lui-même son propre vent qui va en rond autour de lui. Ainsi, le feu peut jouer des tours aux gens qui sont alentours et qui ne savent pas faire avec. Et il faut aussi savoir qu'en fonction de cet amalgame de vent, il y a des endroits où on étouffe, où on est susceptible d'étouffer, donc il ne faut pas se tenir là bêtement. Et on ne peut donc aller n'importe où autour du feu et juste faire le feu n'importe comment. Il faut aussi savoir qu'une fois que l'on a fait la plateforme de bûche, il faut mettre 7 pierres qui figureront donc le visage du soleil regardant vers la terre qui est la hutte. Les 2 pierres à l'ouest seront donc les yeux, une pierre centrale figurera le nez, et 4 pierres donc vers l'est figureront, mises l'une à côté des autres, figureront la bouche. Il faut vous souvenir que la plateforme de démarrage est en bois et que ça finit bien sûr par brûler. Il faut donc bien penser à faire une pyramide afin que, sinon, lorsque ça aura fini par brûler, tout va s'effondrer dans tous les sens. Il faut qu'à la fin, les pierres tombent au centre et ne s'égalent pas dans tous les sens. Et il faut savoir aussi qu'une pyramide crée plus de chaleur à l'intérieur, et une pyramide, ça ressemble à un tipi. Faites attention de ne pas mettre tout le bois sec contre les pierres, mais également des herbes sèches et du tout petit. Donc il s'agit des grosses bûches latérales qu'on met autour des pierres. Et donc de ne pas mettre que ça, les grosses bûches, mais également des herbes sèches et du tout petit bois autour donc de la pyramide de rochers. Sinon, ça va mettre un temps fou à brûler. Et il faut aussi penser à mettre du petit bois au sommet de manière là aussi que la chaleur se répartisse partout. Et il faut savoir également que ça finit par être trop chaud pour être approché, donc si on fait le feu n'importe comment, on finit par avoir un feu superbe, mais on peut plus l'approcher, donc on ne peut plus rien en faire. Si on construit sans s'occuper des vents, ils viendront se fichent de vous, et vous jouez des tours. Et les vieilles personnes qui savent se ficheront également de vous en voyant cela, en se disant « punaise, ce sont des boy scouts, ils savent rien foutre, c'est des minables, etc. » Alors qu'il suffit d'un petit peu de bon sens pour bien faire. Il faut aussi savoir que s'il pleut, et si vous faites bien le feu sera plus fort que la pluie et vous ne risquez pas que la pluie éteigne votre feu. Alors, il faut donc, avant de faire démarrer de commencer la construction, rester 10 minutes autour de la place où vous envisagez de faire le feu et veiller aux directions du vent pendant ce temps-là. Et si vous n'y arrivez pas, il faut prendre un peu de cendre, le jeter en l'air et voir donc la direction dans laquelle elle retombe. Il ne faut pas oublier que les vents négatifs créent des problèmes dans le monde entier. On est si évolué aujourd'hui que l'on ne sait même plus rien des vents. Alors, traté, ce sont les vents négatifs, positifs, et yumi, les vents négatifs, les forces négatives. Et surtout, n'écoutez pas ceux qui sont autour du feu et qui vous donnent des bons conseils, fais comme ci, fais comme ça. Occupe-toi uniquement des vents. Et il faut aussi savoir que c'est valable pour tout feu, pas seulement pour le feu de la sweat lodge, pour n'importe quel feu que vous envisagez de mettre en route. Et il recommande garder le feu propre, comme le tipi qui doit rester propre également.
May I ask you a question? Sure. What if the wind comes neither from north, south, west, or east or west? If it comes from a negative wind, how do you orient the fire?
It's actually like if it was coming from the west or the east.
Ok.
Tu traduis?
Je vais demander, mais qu'est-ce qui se passe si le vent vient de la diagonale? Et en fait, il faut l'orienter quand même nord, sud, est, ouest. En fait, ça sert à le canaliser dans le bon sens. Dans le sens des vents.
When that happens, it's a prayer over the positive of the person building the fire. The fireman is always the next person in line to the holy man to run the sweat lodge. That's why it is very important that we pick the right person, whoever the fireman is going to be. Because he must be knowledgeable in all aspects of the sweat lodge. Everything. We don't look at this guy, hey, come on, you're a good Boy Scout. No, we don't do that. Pick a person who's going to be one day running these ceremonies. It took me 30 years to do that. To be a fireman for 30 years as a fireman before I was able to run a sweat lodge. So some persons just want to run a sweat lodge overnight. I'll run the sweat lodge. You know how to build a fire. They got to learn how to do this first. So in an emergency case, they know what to do. And if you don't know it, you can hurt people. When there is somebody working out there at the sweat lodge, he must be praying when he's doing it. And the holy man comes out there and sees the fireman, he knows who it is. He feels good about it. He knows it's being taken care of. He knows the fireman is not making coffee out there. Sacred herbs heated up, okay, but cooking, frying pan, this kind of stuff. It's not a cooking fire. Some people do it. That's why we have to stress it. Inside the teepee, and the teepee is standing like this, and the door is here. All teepees never reach the ground. come pretty close to reaching the ground. And then inside the teepee, you always have the liner. Going so far. The wind comes in here and goes up that way and goes through the flats. And the wind goes up. So the fire on the inside, the wind comes maybe through the door or through there, it hits this and creates a funnel and goes on up. So what happens? All the smoke goes up. But you must know what to do. What kind of wood do you use? There's cottonwood trees. You use a cottonwood tree. It creates the hottest. You want to build a fire for the sweat lodge, you try to find a cottonwood tree. You don't find greasewood or wood that smokes. You have to find a wood that burns clean. In the old days, my people used, all the cavalry was looking for the Indians, and the Indians were busy cooking over there. There was no smoke in their fire because they knew what kind of wood to use. There's some wood that doesn't create no smoke. And you use these inside the teepee, and your teepee don't turn black. And when you have a black teepee, then you understand. Here's a man who don't know anything. Here's a man with a black teepee. So what kind of guy is this? You know, he might know how to make teepees and use teepees and lives in teepees, but he don't know what to burn. He might be burning paper. Paper flies in the air and starts fire in different places. Although it comes from wood, it flies in the air because it's too light. Therefore, the birch has got to be used to start the fire. Burns to the ground. That's the way it is inside the teepee. Ceremonial teepee or just a regular live-in teepee. You do ceremonies inside the fire, it's always the same way. Now, if you don't have these liners, then the fire, there's no way to go on up. So you have to have this liner, and it also the liner reaches the ground, but the teepee on the outside does not reach. It's so far. So the wind goes here and hits the liner. From the liner, it goes on up. It goes on up to the top. That wind again going up. But if you got these closed, these flaps, you have to watch. If the wind is coming from that side, you got to put your flaps this way. So the wind goes on up. You don't put your flaps that way towards the wind. All the fire with the wind will blow it back down in you. Next thing you know, you can't see nothing. So you have to watch the wind all the time. And make sure that you turn around. We don't have that problem in the sweat lodge. Now the firemen. Now we go back to the firemen again. To be a fireman, you must know what you're doing at all times. When you take out a rock, you must take all the ashes off, blow them off, and bring a clean rock inside the sweat lodge. And if you don't do that, nobody can see in there. All that ashes is going in the eyes. And you'll blind people. You make people blind that way. Ashes blind people. So people are sitting in there, they can't see no more. You know, the tears coming down. You know, you think they're crying. You know? But it's the ashes flying through the air. So you have to clean them off. Whatever is necessary around, whatever kind of grass it's worthless standing around. You think they're worthless, but every grass is for a reason. Some say, oh, that grass is no good. No. There's no use for it. That's because you don't know. If you knew, you wouldn't say that for the Creator. The Creator has made all those grass for a reason. And you have to find out the reason. Why did they make that grass like that? There must be a reason. No, that's just a worthless flower. It's purple. I don't like it. I like this one. That same kind of mentality. I like that plant because it's underneath there grows potatoes. You know? I don't like that one because it doesn't do nothing. It looks pretty, that's all. But it is doing something. Every grass. You take grass that doesn't burn, you take that to wipe off the stones before they come inside. Take your time. Take a piece of log and put it right there. And when you take this rock out, you can put it on top. You don't have to bend over on the ground. Common sense again. You're coming out of the sweat lodge. You put a piece of log right here. That's not for you to sit on. You know? You're not a toad or a turtle. You know? You don't sit there. That's for the rock. You take a pitchfork, you put it there. It's very easy, you know. And you take the rock inside. But if you don't do that, you gotta get down on your knees or hold it up. You wipe it off with a little broom or whatever you make. You do everything simplified. Everything is so simple. But we make it so hard for us. That's why it takes so long to do things. The fireman's position is right here. There should be another log there. And there's where he sits. He can be a turtle there. Sit on the log. He can't be wandering around out here. No. Oh, I think I'll go get a sandwich while they're doing this. Goes out there and gets a sandwich. You know. Now they should be coming out now. He comes back. It happens like this. It always happens. I see it over and over again. Even among Indian people, they do it. They don't know. Getting dense in the head. There's emergency going on inside. This person over here, Tobias, just had a heart attack. You got to get him out of there. The fireman's over there eating a sandwich. So he's just as responsible. So his position is right here. Sitting right there to open that door. As soon as Tahca comes, opens that door right away. It's got to be there for emergency. Also, sometimes the wind comes from this side and might set your sweat lodge on fire while you're inside. When the sweat lodge catches on fire, it burns down in less than 5 minutes. That's how fast it goes like this. Because there's heat inside. So on the outside it burns very fast. It burns the next thing you know you're sitting in a skeleton sweat lodge. No covers. It burns that fast. I've never seen one burn down while people were inside. I've seen them burn down while the fire was going. It wasn't attended. So 3 sweat lodges burned down and 7 sweat lodges in the circle. 3 at the same time caught on fire and burned down. There was nothing you can do about it. Everybody wanted to put them out. I said, leave them. Let them burn. Only the covers will burn. The sweat lodge is not going to burn inside because it's made out of green willow. That's not going to burn. The green willow will not burn, but it creates a shape. So you have to understand that the firemen, every fire, now that the sweat lodge is going, this is the first time the sweat lodge. The rocks again comes out like this, 4 times in the sweat lodge. 2 times the same way. And then the next one goes the opposite. It goes like that. 4 times that person turns around. It's only 4 rocks do that. The next 2 goes in straight. That's 6 times. Creating 4 directions. The first one that does that, the first one that comes in, And then first rock that comes in goes like this. And the medicine man inside is using that to load his pipe. That's number 1 rock. Number 2 rock goes in like this. 3, 4, 5. 6th rock comes straight again, right into the circle in the center, and goes in there. This rock, meanwhile, goes back out and it takes its position right here. So that rock sitting on the west side, the first one used to do a ceremony, represents all the rocks in the world. It holds a sacred position. So that only this little rock represents every rock in the world. And it sits to the west. There's a song that says, there's a song about this rock. It says, to the west, a spirit rock watches over me. That's why that rock is over there. That's why it's so important that this rock is always there. And you don't take this rock, it sits on a mound, it sits on a special place. Around the mound, you don't come along and kick it in. Or what this rock doing out here? You'll see many holy men, you see a man do that, a holy man will walk away. Then he just car and leave. You don't know why he left. But you just kicked the holy rock inside. So you must understand that. That rock that comes out, he puts cedar, sweetgrass, sage on that rock. He loads a sacred pipe. And he takes it, and the fireman takes it, and puts it over here. He don't go this way like the clock. He's got to go this way. He's got to go the Heoka way. The Heoka road, the contradictory road. Now while we're talking about rocks, the rock holds a very sacred position. The top of the mountain here. The trees grow here, okay? The trees only grow this tree line. The trees grow, and the trees don't grow up here. This is all rocks. No one goes to the top of this mountain to pray. No one. No one goes to the top of this mountain to do a vision quest. He must do it on a tree line. It might be way up there. This is where the trees grow underneath. Up here grows little tiny grass and rocks. And we say this is the nest for the thunder beings, the thunderbirds. This is their domain here. You don't build a church up there. Even the old people that came here, those ancient people, they never went to the top of the mountain. They never prayed up there. You pray here. You pray to these two mountains here, this lower one. They pray there. They never go here. You can't go to that top of that mountain to pray. For that is the dwelling place for the spirits. That spirits that goes on, the wind dwells there. The wind is very tricky there. A person does not do vision quest here. We leave that alone on top of those mountains. That is not a place for us. Don't go to the top of the mountain. You might have built a castle up here, and you want to pray up there, Eventually the castle will crumble and fall. You build a house, it's going to crumble and fall. So that's the dwelling place of the spirits. The ancient people, today's people, tomorrow's people. We must leave those mountain tops alone. If we want to go back to the old way, we have to do it that way. I'm not talking about those little hills. There's a lot of higher places, higher plains, and big hills. And that's where the rocks are at. Nothing grows up there. A lot of times, nothing grows. But you will see the snows come, and the snows will cover it. And you see the top of the mountains all white and looks beautiful. And when you see that beauty of snow on top of these mountains, you'll feel good about it. It's cleansing itself. You know, in Switzerland, if you look at the mountaintops, when the sun is going down, the snow is red. It's red snow because from the Sahara Desert. It blows clear over there on top and turns the snow red. So it's really beautiful if you're sitting on the west side looking at like an area of Hunkfrog and going the other way on the west side, and you look and it's red. It really looks nice. That's a desert wind coming clear over there. See how far the winds travel. So you look at those. You don't build those up there. You don't pray on top of those hills, on top of the mountains. The rocks live there. The rocks are the spirits. So the rocks play a dominating. Today they're going to be very hot because we made a lot of mistakes in making the fire. And there's more wood than we need on there. Therefore, it's going to be a hot sweat today. And a lot of men's going to run out of there on the third and fourth door. And it's going to be so hot. I think I've covered about everything. So if there's any questions when she gets through, she can ask you at this time.
Des questions? Mais il faut savoir que le fireman est un homme qui, dans l'avenir, sera voué à conduire la sweat lodge. D'où le fait qu'il est important que soit choisi le bon bonhomme pour cela, celui qui connaît bien les symboles. Lame Deer a été pendant 40 ans fireman avant de pouvoir mener lui-même la sweat lodge. Il dit, je sais comment faire le feu. Si on ne sait pas faire le feu, on finit par blesser les gens. Il faut prier en faisant le feu. Lorsqu'un holy man vient et voit que le fireman sait faire le feu et qu'il fait tout bien, le holy man est très heureux. Le fireman ne fait pas chauffer son café sur le feu. C'est pas fait pour. Et ensuite, il a fait tout un topo sur les tipis au tableau en montrant que les tipis ne touchent pas complètement le sol. À l'intérieur, il y a une paroi qui est donc très près de la paroi extérieure qui reçoit le vent et ce dispositif permet au vent de repartir par le sommet. Il y a un feu au centre du tipi et ainsi également toute la fumée de ce feu sort également sans aveugler les gens. À l'époque, ils utilisaient du cottonwood, je suppose que c'est du bois de coton. Non, c'est un peuplier. Du peuplier, qui est un bois qui ne fume pas et qui également ne sent pas mauvais et qui brûle très clair. À l'époque, la cavalerie américaine voyait les Indiens faire cuire leurs aliments au-dessus d'un feu sans fumée, ça les étonnait beaucoup. Il n'y a pas de tipi à l'intérieur noir, noir de fumée, parce que un tipi avec un intérieur noir de fumée montre que le propriétaire ne sait rien de rien, qu'il ne sait pas faire le feu et qu'il n'est pas digne d'avoir un tipi. Et c'est ainsi aussi bien pour les tipis normaux, qui sont des tipis d'habitation, que pour les tipis de cérémonie. Si on n'avait pas ce dispositif-là, la fumée et le vent resteraient à l'intérieur et joueraient des tours. Ensuite, il a montré les petits triangles, là, c'est ce qu'on appelle les oreilles du tipi. Et on joue donc avec les oreilles du tipi en faisant bien attention à la façon dont vient le vent et on les règle de manière à évacuer le vent et la fumée. Et si on ne le fait pas, on prend toute la fumée dans la figure. C'est aussi pour dire que les Indiens dans la mesure où déjà également pour leur habitation, ils sont très attentifs au vent, donc c'est une chose très importante et c'est une base. Pour la sweat lodge, c'est pareil, le fireman doit être absolument conscient de ce qu'il fait en permanence et savoir ce qu'il fait en permanence. Lorsqu'il prend une pierre pour l'introduire dans la sweat lodge, il faut enlever les cendres et poussières qui s'y trouvent avant de les faire rentrer. Parce que s'il ne le faisait pas, ça se mélangerait à l'air dans la sweat lodge et ça aveuglerait les gens. Les herbes ont été faites par le Créateur. Chaque herbe a sa raison d'être. Il n'y a pas une herbe qui n'a aucune raison d'être. Et vous devez trouver la raison d'être des herbes et des plantes. Toute chose a un sens. Rien n'est inutile. Et il ne faut pas dire, je n'aime pas telle plante parce qu'elle est moche, ou parce qu'il y a des patates à proximité, ou qu'elle ressemble trop à telle chose, ou j'adore telle autre. Une plante pourra donc servir à enlever les poussières qu'il y a sur les pierres qui rentrent dans la sweat lodge. Il y a un petit monticule qui n'est pas fait pour se poser dessus, pour s'asseoir, près de la sweat lodge, il a montré au tableau, mais pour enlever la poussière plus facilement. La place pendant la cérémonie du fireman est à droite de la sweat lodge. Il n'est pas supposé se promener de loin, là, je vais aller se chercher un sandwich au supermarché du coin. Il a vu ça arriver, même chez les Indiens, où le fireman dit, bon, je reviens dans un petit instant, ne vous affolez pas. Le fireman doit être un homme responsable. Il reste à sa place pour ouvrir la porte de la sweat lodge dès qu'on le lui demande. Il a vu 3 sweat lodges brûlées, heureusement sans qu'il y ait quelqu'un dedans, à cause du manque de soins de fireman. C'est juste ça. Là, c'est largué.
Le vent qui avait tourné.
Oui, le vent
Mais si fireman avait été là, c'est pas arrivé.
Ben non, ça n'aurait rien changé apparemment.
Alors, il faut comprendre... Oui. Non, au début, il y a certaines manières pour introduire les pierres. Alors, vous m'aidez si je me plante. Là, il y a donc 6 pierres qui sont introduites. La première, c'est pendant que la personne qui mène la sweat lodge charge la pipe à l'intérieur de la sweat lodge. Et il semblerait donc que la première pierre rentre en ligne droite. La deuxième et troisième pierre rentrent dans ce sens-là, ça c'est le sens des aiguilles d'une montre. La quatrième et cinquième pierre dans le sens inverse des aiguilles d'une montre, et la sixième pierre rentre en ligne droite.
C'est pas la première utilisation de la sweat.
C'est pas la toute première utilisation.
Oui, parce qu'après tout rentre en ligne droite. Hein.
Toujours.
La première utilisation de la sweat, pas le commencement de la cérémonie. Non, ok. D'accord. Et c'est bien la première droite, 2, 3, ah oui, d'accord. Pendant ce temps-là, donc, le médecin man charge sa pipe. La première pierre à l'ouest, donc, qui est posée là-haut, représente toutes les pierres du monde.
C'est la première.
Non, c'est la première qu'on ressort quand elle a servi à charger la pipe.
Ah, ok. Et on la place donc à l'ouest. Hein. Il y a un chant sur cette pierre qui dit « À l'ouest se trouve une pierre spirituelle qui veille sur moi ». D'où le fait que cette pierre est très importante. Il ne faut pas filer des coups de pied à ces pierres, et pas à celle-là en particulier. Un holy man, s'il voyait ça, partirait en vitesse, rentrerait chez lui parce qu'il n'aurait rien à foutre à un endroit où on fait ce genre de choses.
C'est quoi un holy man?
C'est le
voyant.
Oui, voilà, c'est celui qui a passé toutes les étapes de tous les stades de holy man, de tous les stades de médecine man.
Le holy
man.
Voilà. Il l'envoie pour tous les autres médecines.
Oui, c'est le type qui a développé.
Oui,
c'est pas celui-là.
Non.
Bon, donc c'est le médecine man. Lorsque la première pierre rentre, la personne, donc celui qui mène la sweat lodge, met dessus du cèdre, puis de la sweet grass, puis de la sauge et charge sa pipe. Alors il faut veiller à...
Vous avez compris ce que ça veut dire charge sa pile? C'est au niveau spirituel?
Il chante.
La chargée, c'est la.
Remplit la pile.
Ah, il la vend?
Il a mis le tabac, une clinique dedans.
Non, bon.
Non, mais chargé,
Je voulais savoir
ça
si
peut être
c'était
chargé.
physique, si c'était mental, tu vois.
Probablement les deux d'ailleurs.
Ça doit être mental aussi, mais...
Hein, Jean, je pense que c'est probablement les deux.
Oui.
Bon, il faut veiller à ne pas aller dans le sens du Heyoka, qui est le sens contraire. Et, alors là, vous me dites si je me suis plantée, seul avec cette pierre dont on parlait, là, celle à l'ouest, le sens change. C'est ça. C'est-à-dire, on l'amène dans le sens inverse du sens habituel.
Parce que le reste du temps, on tourne
Toujours dans
toujours.
le sens
Mais par exemple,
de la
si on
terre.
prend une pierre ici, on fait plus souvent là alors.
Attendez, non, toujours la même.
Non, tu l'amènes direct.
Celle-là, on l'amène direct.
Voilà.
Mais là, le Fireman, quand il prend une pierre, s'il en prend une ici, il faut qu'il fasse tout.
Non, ça c'est simplement cette pierre qui est venue là. Avec
Non, mais
laquelle
l'homme
il a-
du feu peut aller dans tous les sens. Quand il peut traverser le chemin, il peut
Cette
tout
première
faire.
pierre, elle vient de la toute première. Elle vient là, c'est celle qu'il va utiliser pendant qu'il va charger sa pile. Et cette pierre-là, il la ramène ici. Et c'est cette fois-là, unique dans cette fois-là, où on va dans ce sens-là.
Les autres fois, on peut aller dans n'importe quel sens. Les autres fois, on peut aller dans n'importe quel sens.
Mais on ne va jamais là autrement. On prend les pierres, on les amène là. C'est tout.
Ah, après, c'est fini, on a fait les sens.
Bon, ensuite, il a fait un développement sur les sommets de montagne. Il a dit, montagne, c'est donc ce machin-là, et à un certain endroit, il y a une ligne au-dessus de laquelle les arbres ne vont pas. Au-dessus de cette ligne, il n'y a que des pierres, des rochers. Alors, personne ne va là pour prier ou pour faire une quête de vision, absolument personne. On va prier ou on fait une quête de vision uniquement sous la ligne des arbres. Pour les Indiens, ce sommet rocheux, c'est le lieu où se trouve le nid des oiseaux tonnerres. Il ne doit pas être question de mettre des églises là, ou des édifices. Jamais les anciens ne vont au sommet ou n'aillent au sommet pour prier. Car là se trouve la place pour les esprits et pour les vents. Et le vent à cet endroit-là peut y être très espiègle, donc si vous y allez, méfiez-vous-en sérieusement. Ça n'est en aucune manière une place pour l'homme, ça n'est en aucune manière une place pour y construire un château, parce qu'il est tout à fait possible que le château en vienne à s'effondrer sur lui-même. C'est une place pour les esprits, et il faut absolument laisser ce genre de sommet tranquille. Il s'agit là de hautes places où rien ne pousse, et il ne s'agit pas là de petites collines. Il ne faut pas en faire un site ou un point de vue avec des lunettes, un héros, c'est chouette, etc. Ensuite, si vous regardez les sommets d'un certain angle, lorsque le soleil se couche, vous y verrez la neige rouge. C'est parce que le vent du Sahara vient par là, c'est ça
Il emmène du sable.
Et il amène du sable. Il dit c'est très beau, c'est magnifique. Ne priez pas au sommet de la montagne. Ensuite, pour finir, il a dit aujourd'hui il fera très chaud dans la Sweat Lodge, très très chaud, car des tas d'erreurs ont été faites, vous les paierez. Et bien des hommes s'enfuiront lors des premières fois.
Il paraît que nos firemen ont fait plein de conneries, alors on va se retirer. Dites, il y a une chose que vous avez pas compris, moi je n'ai pas compris. Ce qu'il a dit sur les montagnes, est-ce que c'est valable pour toutes les grandes montagnes du monde ou pour certaines montagnes qui sont sacrées?
Partout où il n'y a pas d'arbres, tous les sommets où il n'y a que des
Donc
rochers.
toute montagne qui a plus d'arbres en haut,
Voilà, il n'y va pas.
et là le sommet qui est sacré.
J'ai l'impression que c'est la montagne la plus haute parmi c'est le pic le plus élevé, parce qu'au-dessous, j'ai l'impression qu'il est. C'est la plus élevée de celle qui
Je voudrais peut-être lui demander là.
Oui, tandis que celle-là, on n'y va pas. Voilà.
Oui, parce qu'il y a des sommets où on se met pour prier, d'après
Voilà,
ce que j'ai
oui,
compris. Mais est-ce qu'il faut que ça soit pas le plus haut sommet, ou est-ce qu'il ne faut pas que ça soit un haut sommet? About the high mountains. We understand that when it's not too high, you may go to the top of the mountain to pray. Now, what you said about the mountains where there is no tree on the top, and where you should not go to pray or build a church and so on, is it the case of all big mountains, or is it the case of only of the one which is the biggest?
Partout
All
dans le
big.
monde, toutes.
Anytime mountain
Wherever-
has nothing on the top.
Wherever the trees do not grow is not a place to pray.
Ok. Bon, dès qu'une montagne a une zone où les arbres ne peuvent plus pousser parce que c'est trop haut,
Dès que
c'est
c'est
une
chaud.
montagne dont le sommet est sacré.
Ah, parce que c'est trop,
C'est comme
parce
là,
que
dès que c'est chaud,
c'est-
dès que c'est chaud.
Voilà. Sinon, tu vas voir.
Not a place to pray.
Là, il reste encore.
There any questions?
Y a-t-il des questions?
I asked a question in the morning in the stand, should I tell you? If the sweat lodge would be in the south hemisphere, should we turn in the same way or in the opposite side?
How's that?
If you were building a sweat lodge in the southern hemisphere, you know the water is going
In South America.
clockwise in the north hemisphere and counterclockwise in the south hemisphere.
Yeah, the sweat lodge always faces whichever way the sun goes down.
Encore allez, oui, dans les alors ça Où que tu sois dans
Which is
le monde,
always west.
la sweat lodge est orientée dans le sens du
No,
soleil.
the problem is with north and south. Then
The sun still comes up in the same direction.
yeah, but the bad winds which come from north, when you are in the south hemisphere, they come from south. No? Une connerie.
La question est magique. Allez, rigole.
There's technical questions have nothing to do with common sense. Those are technical questions. They have nothing to do with common sense. When you are there, you will do as common sense will let you do, whatever way. When you are there, you will see that the sun comes up over there, so you put your sweat lodge face that way. It's just common sense. If you're there, then the wind comes from that side, this side, whichever way. All elements of the earth is sacred, no matter where we're at. I can do a ceremony along the Don River just as good as I can at home. And I will build it accordingly, the way it is where the land that I'm visiting. You know, I'm not going to visit a land where the sun comes up over there, on that side. And I know that this side is east, and I know the sun's not going to come up from the north. So we have to be at that position to build a sweat lodge accordingly. So mentally we can say, oh, it's this time of the day, it's 3 o'clock in the morning in California. Is it right for me to pray at this time? But you're right here. You got to do what's going on right here. Never mind what's going on over there 20 hours from now. Or in the past, the present is what counts. The present is where you're at, wherever you may be. And you do accordingly. But to do this, if you happen to travel from here to here, and to build a sweat lodge here, you must go to the traditional people, the spiritual people, and ask their permission. Even if you bought this land, you must ask their permission. Is it right for me to build a ceremonial grounds? 100% they will say yes, please, and thanks for asking us. So they have been there, that people particular people have been there for thousands of years, and they know the way it's got to be done. And that's the way they practice it there. That's the reason why I've said here, I tell it always in Europe, that you must go out and search for your teachings of the ancient people here is fragmented. It's all over the world. Every denomination of religion, church got a little of it. They took a little here, a little there, a little there, a little there, and they made the Catholic Church. So what little they take, you take it back. And this church that has taken from everybody is starting to crumble, because these spiritual people are taking it back. And this dominator that is sitting there starts to crumble. And it's falling. You can see it. But you can't tell that to the American people in the United States. Because that's what, it can't happen. Hope is strong. You don't know it. But if you see what is going on over here, not only here in France, in other places across Europe, there's a movement going on in the world. A movement called survival. Survival of our Christian or spiritual teaching, to revive them and bring them back again. That's happening everywhere. And we must help in this cause. And whatever you do here, there's somebody else doing it over there. In every country, there is somebody building back up, so they know what is happening around the world. Everybody in Germany and in Austria and parts of France and Belgium and Holland says, oh, Swiss people, we want to be like the Swiss. Then all of a sudden they polluted the Rhine River. Nobody wants to be like the Swiss. I see that mentality all along the Rhine River. I was there when it started, so I was there praying when the water turned red. I thought I became Moses at this time. So the water turned red. What's happening here? It's chemicals, You're warning everybody that's full of chemicals now. For 20 years, fishes cannot live there anymore. Nothing lives there no more. So it makes you wonder. It's just a forewarning of death is all it is. I'll give you a warning. You got 20 years to clean it up. If you don't clean it up in 20 years, you're going to be gone. So now we have to stop it. The moment that this happened, I went right to Switzerland, to Basel, and started demonstrations. I'd start giving talks in the schoolrooms to children, big classes. Look what the old people are doing to you. You're going to suffer because you live here, and it's going to take a long time to erase your suffering of the chemical industries. And the mentality of man, they're going to blame it on the Swiss people. I know the blame is there, even though it wasn't the entire part. Only 2 or 3%, that did it. But every time something happens, they blame the entire thing on somebody. If somebody here accidentally set off an atomic bomb, they will completely blame the whole country. They say, oh, it was the French. One little person did so much damage. So we have to be careful in what we do. It's so hard when you're out there trying to teach about the earth and trees and plants and animals. And right behind you, they're coming along, destroying everything. You know, it really hurts. You know, you haven't seen the chain reaction yet. You know, this is only in October since that Rhine River died. All the fish and insects came off to the shore. And all the birds are coming to eat it. This year, you will hardly hear any birds because they're all dying. They're eating these insects. It's so easy for them because they're floating alongside them, eating the insects. And the bird dies, and the raccoon eats it, and the raccoon dies. Human comes along and eats the raccoon, and the human dies. So it's just chain reaction. It happens all over. There's pollution. Water pollution is one of the worst. So if what we're teaching becomes a reality to the people of the world, you can hold these multinational corporations, chemical factories, for spiritual abuse. Because they have abused the water and killed the fish. And that's against the natural law. Spiritual abuse. And the air, to pollute the air, is also against the natural law. That's the highest law. This is the law of the Creator. But because we don't see it in writing, we don't believe it. But it is a natural law. And when we pollute the air, we kill many things in the air. And the birds are affected. Pollution, and eventually it affects us. Pretty soon, we have a different kind of lungs. And if you took one of your old people of 1,000 years ago and brought him at this stage right now, he will die. Because his lungs would not be able to take it. He has pure lungs. He will die of every kind of disease that we have here. It's interesting how this works. It's like taking one of the buffalo of our people, the bison, and bring him back from 600 years ago and turn him loose out there. He's going to see all that grass and he's not going to eat it. He's going to die. Malnutrition, starve himself to death. Because he knows it's poisonous. He's not going to touch it. But the animals that we create are too dumb to know that. Because these are man-made animals. We took from the original and made our own animals. They're so dumb, you can take a gun and shoot him in the head, and he just stands there and looks at you. Or take a bow and arrow and shoot him, he doesn't do nothing. He just lays there and lets you kill him. But you do that to a wild animal, see what happens. You're going to run. If you miss, you better run. Or if you wound him, you better run. But if you do that to a tame animal, man-made animal, if you wound him, he's not going to get mad at you. He's going to just stand there and let you do it. So we look at this kind of thing. When you bring something from the past here, it will die. You bring the ancient people back, it will die. They understood those things. The old people, they understood that many, many years ago. So they took the stone because they know the stone will never be affected. They know that the stone is forever, so they embedded it into the ground. And maybe one day, these children, grandchildren of ours who are supposedly going to be so well educated, they will know how to pray. And they left the standing stones all over Europe and other countries. And we come there and we gawk at it. What the heck is this? You know? What is this? Tell me what it is. Where's that anthropologist? Hey, mister, what is this? Oh, they made it that way because, you know, they were not intelligent. But Everything has a form and a position. The way, the stones are standing stones are forever. They mark the spot for you and how to pray. And this is the balances the earth must need. And we forget the balance. And look where we're at today. We're all searching, looking, hoping we will find it. And when we do find it, many of us keep it to ourselves. We don't tell anybody. You have to tell somebody. Tell it to other people. What you learn, you must teach other people. Because what you learn could also destroy you. So you got to release it. What affects your life, you must use that. Everything we said in the last couple days, maybe 1 or 2 words will help you along. Wait for the next teacher to come and he will tell you something. And you add those together and become a whole person. It takes a while to do that. It doesn't take overnight. And you must listen to different teachers from all over the world as they come. Even if one is talked about negatively, listen, he might say something. You know, there are some teachers, you know, who, I don't know where they came from. In 1970, there was very few medicine men. All of a sudden, we got about 5,000 medicine men running all around the country. I'm still the only spiritual man going into prisons, 142 of them in the United States. Where are those medicine men? I need help in the prisons. They must come in there and pray with those guys. But where are they at? They don't want to come in because they say a man who commits murder deserves to be in prison. That's the mentality, even by a lot of medicine men. What kind of mentality is that? It's the mentality of the dominating force that dominates all of us today. The politics. That's how it's formed. I've told you over and over again that all human is negative and positive. That same man who took the life of 2 humans is just as holy as that one who's sitting in Rome. For by and large, this man who's sitting in Rome is taking people by the thousands. And if you don't believe me, go to Nicaragua and El Salvador and Guatemala, and then you will see it. Multinational corporations controlled from this church. And you can say, no, no, no. Get in the airplane and go down there. And you will see the oppressor at work. It's there. It's in black and white. Those of us that are involved with all the problems of the world, we see who the oppressors are. You know, and you cannot no longer take the blame of the oppressor, for it's been blamed too long. Because the people of the world do not know the atrocities that you have been through for 2,000 years. You think that the Jewish people have suffered. They didn't suffer at all. We died by the millions as Indian people. A lot more. But we still pray for all people. And all nationalities here in Europe, in one way or the other, oppression, suppressed by the governments, by the kings and imperialists, oppressing the people, always the poor. The poor has no one to speak for them. And every time a poor gets up there in office, he oppresses the other poor ones. So who are you going to put in office next? Another poor man from the street, so he can get up there, so he can oppress you. For the love of material and the love of money destroys mankind. So we have to always be careful in what we do. And these spiritual matters, we must learn something from each other and work together, no matter how much it hurts. And when we form a unification, and when we form a group that is working together, the group breaks. Why? Because jealousy always, nothing else but jealousy, always creates a problem. It's a game again. That's why I keep saying that love is a game. It's a sport. The same as the life we live is a game and a sport. We play with each other. One man takes the position that he's in charge of the group. They got somebody to pick on. All the rest of them, he's no good, he's doing it wrong, everything's wrong, they all talk like this, yak, 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 yak. Instead of going over there and helping him, they stand there and you're doing it wrong, You're doing it wrong. The best thing to do is don't say anything about it. If you see him doing something wrong, he needs help, go over there and help him. Then you're going to see other people coming in and helping that person, because we don't know everything. Sometimes we think we know everything, but in reality we don't. So we got to help each other to become stronger. If one person is lacking in something, we got to do something. If one person has no hair, we got to plant some hair up there. Now we have to work for a new formula. After she gets through, the men can start getting ready and go in the sweat lodge. And the women can do whatever they want to do. They can eat lunch if they want to, or I know that's what some of them are going to do, so I just want to say it. Some of them can meditate, pray. But we do need some tea, some mint tea. Anyone can find it, because we're going the first door will come out at first door will come out at 1 o'clock.
Archie,
Yes.
who is going to say sorry?
Huh?
Who is going to be far woman?
You guys pick one. You gotta have a strong one. One with a lot of muscles.
Non, c'est une femme.
Only one or two? Probably take two.
Two.
Moi, je veux bien
Deux
essayer.
femmes.
Il faut quelqu'un qui connaisse tes choses.
Non, je connais pas.
Ah non, mais avec toi.
Avec
Ah,
toi,
avec moi, absolument.
C'est Jacqueline. Toi, Alka.
Véronique la costaud.
Il y en a qui s'intéressent à la traduction, là.
Alors, il lui a répondu, il faut faire ce que... C'était quoi ta question? Ta question,
Ah oui, est-ce que c'est toutes les montagnes qui sont
Non,
sacrées?
on dit pour le vent s'il vient du nord, s'il vient pas du nord, s'il vient du sud.
Ah oui, d'accord. Si le vent ne vient pas des 4 points cardinaux, comment on oriente le foyer?
Alors il dit, tu fais ce que le bon sens te dit de faire. Tu ne dois pas te dire...
Non, alors la question n'était pas ça. La question c'est si on est dans l'hémisphère sud.
Non, ça c'est réglé très très.
Oui, c'était l'autre question.
Il a dit le réglé. Non, c'est
C'était
construit.
facile, ça.
Ouais, ça a été fait. Ouais, donc, peu importe.
Je vous donne la réponse, la question est pas importante.
Ah, il ne faut pas se dire, il est 3 heures. Mais il ne faut pas se dire, il est 3 heures en Californie, je suis de Californie, mais je suis en France, il est 3 heures en Californie. Puisqu'il est 3 heures en Californie, il est temps de prier maintenant. Tu es ici, tu dois t'occuper de ce qui, tu ne dois pas t'occuper de ce qui se passe ailleurs ou de ce qui est supposé se passer chez toi. Le présent pour toi, c'est là où tu es, et tu dois t'accorder, accorde-toi là où tu es. Tu construis une sweat lodge ici. Si tu construis une sweat lodge ici, tu dois d'abord demander la permission des anciens de cette terre. Les anciens de cette terre te diront certainement à 100% oui et merci pour avoir demandé la permission. Car ils savent comment ça se fait, comment ça se pratique. C'est pourquoi je dis ici en Europe que vous devez chercher les enseignements de vos anciens ici parce qu'ils savent comment ça se fait et comment ça se pratique. Chaque tradition dans le monde entier a gardé un bout des enseignements fondamentaux. Actuellement, en Europe, si vous voyez tout ce qui se passe, vous seriez surpris. Un peu partout en Europe, il y a des mouvements de survivance des enseignements spirituels. Partout, on voit ça. Et à nous, il nous faut aider à ce genre de mouvement. Et ce que nous faisons ici, d'autres le font ailleurs. Ici, maintenant, d'autres le font ailleurs, en Allemagne, en Autriche, en France, en Belgique, etc. Plus personne maintenant ne supporte les Suisses à cause de la pollution du Rhin. L'année dernière, en octobre, l'eau du Rhin est devenue rouge à cause des produits chimiques. Alors ça signifie qu'il n'y aura plus de poissons dans le Rhin pendant 20 ans et plus rien ne pourra y vivre pendant les 20 prochaines années. Et ça, c'est un avertissement. Si vous ne nettoyez pas le Rhin dans les 20 ans à venir, le Rhin et tout ce qui est pollué et dégueulassé, les choses seront foutues. Moi-même, je vais aller à Bâle, chez les gosses, dans les écoles, pour parler de cela aux enfants. Et pour leur dire qu'ils souffriront de ce que les adultes ont fait. À cause de cet événement du Rhin, tous les Suisses sont blâmés par tout le monde. Et c'est partout pareil, si un machin embêtant arrive quelque part, on blâme tout le peuple qui est connecté à cela, à cela pour cela, même si c'est que 2 ou 3% de la population qui est responsable. Donc il faut toujours faire attention à ce que l'on fait, parce que lorsqu'on fait une connerie, c'est d'autres qui intègrent le blâme avec celui qui a fait la connerie. En octobre dernier, le Rhin est mort. Les insectes ont été mangés par les oiseaux, donc les insectes du bord du Rhin qui étaient pollués ont été mangés par les oiseaux, et les oiseaux en sont morts et vont encore en mourir. Et le raccoon, qu'est-ce que c'est?
Ah oui, je sais pas.
Bon, c'est un animal. Raccoon, c'est un animal du bord du Rhin qui bouffe les oiseaux. Lui aussi en mourra, mais avant de mourir, les humains qui boufferont eux-mêmes le raccoon, certains en mourront également parce qu'ils auront bouffé le raccoon pollué. Ça s'appelle une réaction en chaîne. La pollution de l'eau est une des pires choses qui se puissent concevoir. Les industries chimiques et tout ça peuvent aujourd'hui être accusées de spiritual abuse, d'abus spirituel. L'eau et l'air sont pollués. Et ce genre de pollution, ce genre de truc, c'est contre la plus haute loi, c'est contre la loi du Créateur. Beaucoup de choses dans l'air meurent de la pollution de l'air. Si vous amenez ici ceux qui ont vécu ici il y a 1000 ans, ils en mourraient tout de suite. Leurs poumons ne pourraient pas respirer l'air que vous respirez. Les anciens bisons mourraient aujourd'hui car si vous les amenez ici et leur suggériez de bouffer l'herbe qu'il y a dans ce pré, ils ne mangeraient pas de cette herbe parce que pour eux elle est empoisonnée, ils mourraient de faim. Nous avons créé nos propres animaux. Ces animaux ont une particularité, on peut les tuer sans qu'ils résistent. Vous pointez un fusil sur eux, ils se laissent massacrer comme ça. Alors qu'un animal sauvage ne se laisserait pas faire. Si vous blessiez un animal sauvage, vous auriez intérêt à vous barrer vite fait parce que vous ne ferez pas de dos en face. Il n'y a que les animaux faits de main d'homme qui se laissent tuer et bon, pour lui c'est des sous-animaux. Les anciens savaient que les pierres ne finiraient pas, que les pierres ne se détruiraient pas. Et c'est pourquoi ils ont fait les pierres levées pour laisser des messages à l'avenir, des messages pour nous qui sommes donc leur avenir. Et aujourd'hui, ces messages, on va demander aux anthropologues ce que c'est, et ils n'en savent rien du tout. Ils sont bêtes à ce point, qui ne savent rien. Ces pierres sont là en réalité pour nous dire où et comment prier. Ce que nous apprenons ici, il faut le dire aux autres, il ne faut pas le garder pour soi. Si on le garde pour soi, ça peut finir par nous détruire ou nous faire du mal. Vous avez appris un certain nombre de choses ici. Lorsque un prochain guide viendra, allez le voir et vous en saurez plus. Et au fil du temps, vous finirez peut-être par être un homme entier.